Well, welcome to everybody tuning in today. I'm just going to give it just a couple more moments um, so that others can also jump on to this YouTube live video. I want to welcome you to my book launch, officially welcome you to my book launch. And my book is titled Journey to the West Side. So as you guys come onto this YouTube live, please let me know in the comments if you can hear me and see me clearly. So that will help me as well to know if I need to adjust. So can everyone hear me and see me clearly? Okay, welcome. Welcome Kishendran, Governor. Hope you're doing well on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. And I invite you guys to get comfortable. I mean, if you want to bring over a cup of coffee and just relax, you can spend some time catching up a little. Um, let's see who else is on today. Doing well, Kishendran. Hope you're well too. Okay, some people will also watch this broadcast a bit later because it's still going to be up on YouTube even after this live video has ended. So to those that will watch it a little bit later, welcome to you as well. You know, it is so nice to do um, a live, a YouTube live together. This is actually my first YouTube live ever. So some of this is actually new to me. I've done a Facebook live a few years ago, but first time, you know, it's always the first time for everything. And yeah, really excited, guys, to be with each and every one of you and to announce the launch of my book, Journey to the West Side. So for those that are already tuned in, please let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from, which area. If you live here in Durban, welcome to Balan Reddy as well. Yeah, so let me know which area you're tuning in from, if you're here in Durban or if you're in other parts of the country, or if you're tuning in from another country, I would like to know where you're from. So I'm currently doing this live stream from Durban at the moment. Let's see. Okay, Durban Chatsworth. Great. Bluff. Tishalan's from the Bluff. Well, that's the area that we fish in a lot. I love the Bluff area. It's one of my favorite areas to fish through. And yeah, we fish all over. I mean, I remember what it was about 2 years ago, 2020, just after the beaches and stuff got opened again. After the initial lockdown, we caught some good fish there at Anstey's. And so I fish from Anstey's. We also fish at Sloane Road. Many of you know through my videos. I am talking about the times that we fish at Sloane Road. So we actually park at the parking. There's a dead end, and we also go towards the left, and we walk down the beach about 2 kilometers. And then we also fish down at West. So we go down. Somebody posted a comment from Cape Town. Let me just see that. Welcome. Clint, welcome, Clint. Clint always comments on our videos, so thank you so much. Even Kishendran as well. Yeah, I also love fishing at Anstey's. It's a great place. Um, and yeah, we also did that video where we went down to West and also fished at South Pier. Andrew Hill, welcome, welcome. Good to see you guys. Yeah, so things have not been that great over these last few weeks since the beaches have been closed. And I'm sure you guys would have seen my previous video this past week. I went down to Blue Lagoon, and there is still, guys, a very strong sewage smell that is coming out from the Amgeni River. So, we just hope and pray that things will get better for us as the weeks and months progress so that we can go back to doing what we love, and that is fishing. So as we go on today, I just want to sort of structure our time together and tell you what you guys can expect during this YouTube live session. So I'm going to be talking about my book, Journey to the West Side. And specifically, I'm going to give you guys, let me put it in this way. I'm going to whet your appetite and I'm going to read some snippets from certain chapters and sort of give you an insider's look at the book. I'm going to explain it, and then, of course, at the end, I'm going to also tell you what platforms the book is going to be available on for your purchase. But basically, this book, it carries deep historical roots as it relates to the fishing industry in Durban. And it also mentions the legends of old. Now, I know for many fisher folk that are tuning in, you probably have maybe some people from your family line that may have been maybe your father or maybe a grandfather or great grandfather that sort of started the fishing in your family. And so, when we talk about historical roots, especially here in Durban, it traces back to the generations before us. And for me, that was my grandfather, Siva Mudli. And, this book basically highlights just a day together of our lives when I was probably about 10 years old. And I accompanied him by train to this place called West. But as I tell the story, sort of in narrative form, I start to touch on some of these historical aspects of the fishing industry and as it relates back to those years. Now I'm talking about from the 1960s onwards. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read just the introduction of the book, just to give you an idea a little bit more about what's contained within it. So if there's anyone else that's tuned in now to this video, please let me know, say hi, so I can also greet you on this YouTube live video. Okay, I'm going to read from my introduction today. So this is what it says. There is a journey worth mentioning of long forgotten heroes that were brave enough to withstand the odds and take a journey to the West Side. And they fought for the future of their families, struggling, toiling, and risking their lives for a catch. They were resilient, innovative, extremely hardworking, and lived lives that went against the tide of their circumstances. They are the fisher folk of the West Side. Now, the story of their lives cannot be forgotten, but is worth mentioning and proclaiming as an invaluable piece of oral history that needs to echo into the halls of the future generations. Some of them have gone before us and set a platform for what has become a hobby to most, which is fishing. However, fishing meant something totally different to them. It was their way of life. It was their identity. It was what built their houses one brick at a time, took their children to school, and provided food for their households. The fisher folk of West and South Pier, specifically in Durban, they are the unsung heroes of the 1960s to the present day. And like I'd mentioned before, one person rises to the top of my list as being the legend of legends, and that was my grandfather, Siva Mudli. So basically, I have dedicated this book to him, to all of those fisher folk that fished during that era, and also to my family. Okay, so back to our live chat. I just want to ask you guys a question here. What do you love most about fishing? So I'm posing that question to you. I'd like to read some of your comments, and while you are busy typing that out, for me, what I love the most about fishing is just the peace. I honestly feel like it has a therapeutic effect when you go to the beach, and it's an area, it's a time when when I'm out there on the beach, whether I'm holding a rod or whether I'm just kind of gazing and looking out the water, it is something that really calms me down and brings me much peace. So that is what I love about fishing the most. Okay, let's see. Kishandan says, for me, it's just being at the water. It's very relaxing. How true. How true, brother. Yeah, there's just a feeling that comes with it that cannot be replaced. And I'm sure many of you guys, after a hard days of work, it's so nice to go out, and even, giving that little extra energy to actually go out to the beach is always worth it. Let's see, is anybody else? What do you love about fishing the most? Relaxing and serene, brother. They say we escape to reality. That's great. That's great. I agree with that. Okay. We're going to move along here. So the next little snippet that I'm going to give you from my book is taken from chapter 1. And this speaks of an early start. And I'm sure this can identify with fisher folk all over the world, actually, because if you're planning a trip, you generally wake up early, right, in the morning. But, when it comes to the generation that was, before us, they took waking up early to another level altogether. So I'm just going to read this little excerpt from chapter 1 for you. That's what it says. I could feel someone tugging on my leg as I heard a voice from the distance call to me, saying, "Come on, it's time." As I opened my eyes and looked up, I saw that it was 3:30 a.m. I immediately knew what I had to do, and so I woke up from the bed and walked a couple of steps into the bathroom to get ready. I was completely exhausted, having only a couple hours of sleep, but yet was so excited at the prospect of what this day had in store. So my granddad used to wake me up at 3:30, but he himself used to actually get up at 2 a.m. Just to be able to prep, for this fishing trip that we used to take back in those days, which was going to west. And he didn't have a vehicle. So our journey was, a lot of it was by foot and also by train. So we were required to actually wake up that early and to prepare so that we could actually make it in time, to be able to utilize that. Now, it's now 2022, and many of us have vehicles now, so going to the beach is so easy. But back then, it was tough, for the generation before us, the sacrifices that they had to make. So as I go on, in chapter 1, it says a little TV was on, and I could hear the sound of the news channel. Now this was in the early 2000s, so roughly about 2003 to 2004. So the channels were only limited to 5 on a regular TV. So this is a good indication, guys, of the time when the book, the time frame that I'm writing from as I record the story. So I noticed that my grandfather, he liked to watch the news and would prize that above anything else on TV. He enjoyed keeping updated with what was going on in the country, but more so, he waited patiently for the weather report that was given at the end of the news broadcast. You see, the weather report determined the entire journey. So he studied the weather patterns and would often talk about the wind direction, the rainfall patterns, and the other things that really didn't interest me when I was a pre-teenager. But however, to him, these things were tremendously important, and it would be later on in life that I would learn the importance of what was being instilled. So if you go back to this time in history, I mean, the TV was only basically governed to 5 channels. Now we have DSTV, and we have more channels than we can count. We don't know what to pick from these days, and we have YouTube and all of these other things and social media. But back in the day, not a lot was available. But specifically when it came to knowing about the weather, we had to wait for that news broadcast. Basically, I mean, for those of you that watched South African TV, that was E News, and when the news came on, we had to wait for that weather report at the end. And I remember, as I would sit with my grandfather on that couch and basically look at the weather, he would tell me, what, there's a southwesterly blowing or there's a northeasterly, and how that was going to affect the day. And my young mind back then was still learning when it came to fishing. But I grasped a lot of these concepts of understanding the importance of learning the weather. I just want to jump in, read this comment. Someone said they used to take a bus from Phoenix. Why did that comment disappear? Okay. It says, I used to take a bus from Phoenix to Yacht Mall to fish. People wasn't happy when I came back though on the bus. I'm sure. On the way back home, I'm sure that yeah, the perfume smell on you would have actually been very, very strong. So yeah, going back to the story about listening to the weather or watching the weather, when it came to, especially shad fishing or whatever it was, my grandfather would tell me that, you needed a northeaster to blow for a couple of days. And during the shad season, especially in the spots that we were going to, that would actually produce some good fish, in the grounds of West. So as a young boy, I began to learn about all of these things, and, especially, knowing how important it was to study the weather and, the weather patterns specifically. And then from there, as we would prepare in the mornings, I continue to speak about in chapter 1 that, as we stepped outside, the air was crisp, being that it was so early. And, you felt in the morning that there was freshness with every breath, that you took. Of course, as a young man, I was bundled up with many layers of clothing and a warm hat because of the long journey that would involve walking. And basically, we would walk from the house to the train station, which would basically take roughly about 25 minutes or so. So, yeah, and then once we would get to the train station, we would wait to board. And that was actually the metro rail. So it was electric trains when I was growing up. But you could hear, as you would stand there, you would hear the surge of electricity running through the cables above the train. And, when that whistle blew and the doors opened, you knew that it was time to board and put your tackle on. And you know what, being in the train was very special for me because, I mentioned that my grandfather is a legend. And for those that don't know him, they might ask, why, how was he a legend? Why was he a legend, But it was in the train that exposed me to why that was so. Because when we would board, and it was really early, in the morning, it was still dark at that point, people would actually come looking for him. And as I would sit there with him, they would greet him, and they had this utmost respect for him. That for me, when I looked at that, I asked myself, why are these guys, why are they so respectful of my grandfather? Why do they look up to him so much? And as the years went by, I started to learn, about his fishing legacy that he left behind at the place called West. And the fact that he was not just an all-round angler, but he was someone that excelled in every area of fishing. And even when it came down to, how he would keep his tackle, his terminal tackle, the presentation of his baiting, and there would be times when we would go fishing together, and there would be a crowd of people there, all fishing for let's say for shad. And amongst all of the anglers, he would basically be amongst the three people that would be catching fish along a whole lineup of people out there. So he definitely was a legend, and you would see that going on in the train. Another thing that we would pick up in the train is that it would also be a time where it was very noisy, and people used to talk at the top of their lungs, just to be able to hear each other. So it was quite interesting, to be able to listen to those conversations, and it made it fun. We would take two trains, jump off at the station called Clearwood, and then from Clearwood, jump into the train that was going to West. Now that train specifically had the number '09 on it, so it was a very specific train that took us right to the place called West. So we come to the West grounds. Now I just want to ask here, how many of you have actually fished in West in the past? For those that are tuning into um, this YouTube live, have you fished in West before? Let's see. Okay, there's still people that still need to go there. I know that when I did post a video about this, probably about 3 months ago or something. Oh, there we go, Balan. I used to take the ferry and the train. It's exciting. Of memories. I know a lot of people that used to take the ferry. Like I said, when I did post that video of actually going to South Pier, many people commented and shared some memories. Roland, very long ago when I was a kid, we used to take the ferry from North Pier over. Yes, yes, I recall that. Yeah, so some of you have fished there. And to those that are tuning into this live video that don't have a clue where West is, I'm going to be able to talk about that a little bit more. Ken Chara, that's where you and KP Kill are going to take me when I visit. You're welcome to join. Okay, so West is broken up into many different fishing grounds, but basically it's located on the south side of the harbor. And it has one of the main entry piers to the harbor in it called South Pier. It is a stretch of beach that runs for a few kilometers, and it's also a part of the military base, which is on top of the big mountain behind it. So right now, you can only access from the military base if you have a Defense Force permit. And I do have a permit. I have applied for a permit. Actually, it was one of those things that I was quite lucky to get. Because not a lot of those permits are given to people. But with my permit, I am able to access the military base and park at the bottom and to walk. But many guys actually come also from Island View. They park their vehicles there or whatever, and they also take a walk into West. So there is another way to access the place. But back in those days, guys, the train used to actually take you and leave you right there. But I wouldn't say right there. There was still about a 25-minute walk if you were going to the beach side. But it was much closer than the second stop, which was Island View. But basically, West is broken up into many different fishing grounds that were named by the locals, starting from the slipway. So the slipway, guys, it has a lot of history behind it because of the whaling. The time of the whaling, and when the whales would actually be harpooned in the deep, and they would actually be brought to the slipway. They would be winched up, placed onto these coal trains, and then taken down to the whaling station, which was a couple of kilometers down the beach. But as you enter from where the train used to stop, the slipway is right there. And then from slipway, as you walk a little bit down, there is South Pier, there is Diamond Field, there's Cave Rock. Actually, Cave Rock was where my granddad landed one of his biggest fish. Well, when I say biggest, I mean an edible range. He actually caught a Daga salmon, which was basically his height. Balan says, I did fish a lot at Grass. Yes, Grass Corner. I also fished there as well. So yeah, my grandfather did catch one of his biggest edibles was on Cave Rock, fishing for shad. I think with like 20-pound line. Yeah, he hooked a Daga that was the size of him. And what made it special? I mean, guys hook dagas from the surf all the time, but when you're fishing in a really really foul area, it was hard for him to land it. But through skill and his expertise, he was able to to land that fish at Cave Rock. That's also included in my book as well. I tell the story of that. And then as you go past Cave Rock, there is another grounds called Long Rock. Um, and next to Long Rock, there is the depot. And then there's also lots of gun houses. So because of World War II, those gun houses were built, and a lot of them are dilapidated now because of time and erosion. But as you go, they are still standing there. There's actually one that's called nicknamed the Falling Gun House because through time it actually tilted over. And then there's the next grounds that's next to it called Three Pole. And as you walk down, there is Sunken Gun House, there's the fence. There's like names given by the locals for all of these different grounds, fishing grounds that were out there. But in the book specifically, I talk about the grounds called Three Pole. Three Pole is where the story is set, and I begin to tell you about how the fishing went specifically for the day that I recorded it within the book. Um, Let me just break this up here and ask another question on this chat. Which beach do you guys like to go and relax at or fish at? Let me know in the comments. Which beach do you like to go to relax at and fish at? Let me know. Round bush. Anstey's, bro, my second house. Three pole and one pole. Okay. Great. As we go on, another excerpt from chapter 4. So I'll speak about time. Now, many of us that actually go out to the beach, whether we're going fishing or just spending the day, I always feel like, Shane Naya says Isipingo. Isipingo is good grounds. I fished there as well. Reunion and the other places. Balan says Rocky Bay. Awesome. Anybody from down the coast here? Margate, Shell Beach, South Broome, that way? We also love fishing down at Margate, as you would have seen in our videos. We try to go there at least once a year. This year I've actually been fortunate. I went twice. Oh, there we go. Ankumar's as well. Awesome, Roland. Jaden Naidu. Hi, Jaden. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so talking about time, yeah, there are times when when you go out to I don't know if this is something that you guys experience, but when you go out to the beach, it feels like time flies. I mean, there are times in the day when we really feel like time is going slowly when we're engaging in other stuff. But for me, always when we go to the beach, I always feel like time goes faster than I can keep track of, and that is also something that I touch on in chapter 4. While we were fishing, it felt like basically 4 hours just felt like 30 minutes. That's how quick the time goes while you're doing what you love. That's what they say. I don't know if you guys have that similar experience to that. But yeah, as I was talking about that, yeah, that's true with the time at the beach. Day is too short when you're at the beach. Yes, Shane, I agree. Okay. So yeah, we target a lot of species, and I didn't have, like I said, this is a fishing short story. It's about 77 pages, including all of the pictures that I've included in it. So it's not a lengthy read. I have written 2 books prior to this, and my book before this was about 100, close to 130 pages or so. So that was slightly a lengthier read. But this book specifically is only 77 pages, and I couldn't really speak about. Let's see, Roland, I fished Uvango, Orange Rocks, Margate Pier. Awesome, yeah. Yeah, so I couldn't necessarily talk about targeting all different types of species. What I just kept it to was what I witnessed about shad fishing. And why I say shad fishing is that shad is one of those fish that people like to catch and also consume. Especially here in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal. I know that in the US it's called by different names. I think there it's called bluefish, and then also in Australia and stuff it's called tailor. By the way, while we're talking about other countries, I was looking through my analytics, my YouTube analytics, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that there are people that are tuning into um, our videos from other countries, and you guys are welcome. That's really exciting. In fact, I did see someone that was tuning in from Australia, Philippines, from New Zealand, of course from the US, and in some other countries I can't really recall right now. But that's really exciting. That the content is actually going out, and there are times too when I do like to watch different types of content, especially with fishing in different places. But yeah, there are different names for shad, depending on where you live. But in the book specifically, I mentioned how my grandfather would prepare his bait, and he didn't fish with circle hooks like we have now. He fished with J hooks. So when you would fish for shad, he would make this long bait using mackerel. So he would turn it inside out. As you see, is my style. I've taken on that style now when I fish. And he fished with something called a 5-0 needle point, that he used to go get from Kingfisher. And making this long bait, and he would cast with the KP. Um, yeah, guys, there was just something about that, and if you actually saw the image, the cover image on my book, I actually have a KP that's on the cover image. And I do fish with other reels like the grinder and also the multiplier. But recently, I started fishing with the KP reel again, and just it brought back so much of memories. It actually, like, what can I say? It started becoming my favorite thing to do now when I go fishing, is just to be able to use that reel. But I recall, when I was young and I would watch him, he had a way of just working that KP reel, and in those days they called it a ball race as well. And a distinct style with throwing it, and basically being able to wait. And that Shad came around, there was a distinct style that those legends in the past used to actually set that J hook. And I remember watching all of that and just being absolutely amazed at his technique, his style, and there was a lot of bigger shad also back then. And for those that have fished in the previous years, the years that I'm talking about, maybe you can comment. There was a lot of blue shad that were around at that point. Um, and those shad there were a bit more ferocious, when it comes to fighting them, and being able to land them. But yeah, he had a lot of experience, and he loved his shad fishing, which is funny because and as I mentioned that today, all of the techniques that were passed down to me. Last year when I was in Isipingo, and I released that video, there was a whole array of there was a whole lineup of anglers that were fishing, and I'm not gonna say on this video that I got the shad that won the competition, because I was the best. I definitely was not the best angler there. In fact, there were guys that came with some really serious tackle out there, and they had probably had a little bit more experience than I did. What did Ken say? Blue shad. Sorry, these comments are disappearing, so it's interesting. Really big blue shad that was caught during season. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, going back to that, if you guys have seen that competition at Isipingo, there were anglers there that I would admit, in humility, that definitely had more experience than I did. But I used some of the techniques that my granddad taught me specifically on that day, and I made sure that I bought the freshest mackerel that I could possibly get. I tied my traces down to the dimensions that he taught me, and I was lucky enough to pull out a shad on that day that won me that beautiful saltus reel. So it's kind of like a full circle moment to me, as as I was writing this story of him catching shad, to know that all of these things that have been passed on, has been something that has produced fruit in my life. And I'm sure many of you, as you also will now pass on your legacy to the future generations, it's also going to bear fruit in their lives as well. And that's also exciting for me as I think about this author journey, and being able to release books. Books are something that outlives you, actually. But it's able to carry that strong message, to the future generations. So yeah, that's just about shad fishing. um, okay, so next question for you guys. And by the way, at the end, you guys can ask me questions, right? So we will leave some time open for that if you have any burning questions that you want to ask me specifically. But yeah, my next question is for you guys on the chat. What fish do you enjoy catching and eating? So let me know in the comments. What fish do you enjoy catching and eating? Bronze brim, Gishendra. Yes, I agree. Clenchara mussel cracker. Oh yes, very tasty. Yeah, but the bronze brim, I love bronze brim. The taste of bronze brim is just something else. It also depends on how you clean it. Um, but yeah, I'm very fond of the taste of the meat of the bronze brim. Um, yeah, mussel cracker is also nice, but harder to catch. Shane, I Shad my brew all the way. Yes, yes, I agree. I agree. I also enjoy eating shad. Yeah, when it comes to the mussel cracker, yeah, it's a little bit of a harder fish to land. Actually, I'm not ashamed to say that I lost a brusher last year. Well, the other name for it is brusher. In that video when you guys saw that one brusher was landed by my uncle, which in the process of that, I was trying to go into the water to grab that fish because he was fishing with 15-pound line, and if you're fighting a brusher that's almost 4 kilos, you can just imagine how the fight was. So in the grunter, shad, blacktails, carantine, Roland, yeah, that's great. Yeah, so you can just imagine fighting a fish like a mussel cracker with such powerful jaws, um, being able to use the water. They say that a brusher is actually like a dirty fighter, and I experienced that because if you don't have the right terminal tackle, he's gonna dive straight into the rocks and cut you off. So on that specific evening while we were fishing, I remember when I was actually going into the water to try and grip that fish. I had my electronics on me, which included my phone. I lost some of the footage because my phone ended up getting wet, soaked actually in the salt water. So yeah, that system is not working out. I really need to get a GoPro soon, guys. But been saving up for that one. But yeah, lost. So and then also in the same process when that one brusher was landed, I went tight, and as I hit that fish, I was also using thin line. He went straight for the rocks and bust me up. So I've had some experiences with humbling experiences with the brusher. So they're not always the easiest to catch, but when they are landed, yeah, it is a prized possession to catch a brusher. Um, so yeah, someone said quarantine and blacktails. Oh, the blacktails. There's so much of. I'm sure that you guys have seen that. We go on trips and there must be at least a blacktail that comes out. Those blacktails are all over the place. Okay, as we go on here today, do you guys have any? Okay, Ken Chara, not being funny, but I also grew up calling bronze brim coppers. You know what? That's a good thing to talk about. I myself and my family have grown up calling that fish coppers. And I be honest, I don't know where that kind of that nickname for the fish came down from. I guess maybe the previous generation that's what they called it. And then lately, I think over the last 4 years or something, I've actually started calling it bronze brim. But I do understand the colloquialism and the terms that people use or the different names when describing that fish specifically. But yeah, as far as the, and there are other fish as well that we have different names for. Now that you brought that up, like for example, the damsel fish. I've caught probably about two or three of that during my videos. We actually call that a rock five finger. That is a nickname. And then also, what's the other one? The other one we call the butter blacktail. And the butter blacktail is the other name for it is zebra. Clenchara, kalyun. Yes, kalyun we call baraka, Clen. So that's interesting, you know. Um, but no, sorry, my mistake. Banded kalyun is what we call baraka. Um, Kalyun, I haven't really caught one in my lifetime, and I haven't really seen one come out. So the guy said that they used to catch it back in the day, which they used to call it black brim. But there are Kalyun that come out as far as Cape Town, I do know, and I don't know whether up to Eastern Cape as well. They call it Kalis out there, but it is our national fish. So yeah, definitely Kalyan. But yeah, there are different names, you know. Also, the other one was Grey Grunter. Someone corrected me a couple of months ago, and they were like, you caught a Grey Grunter. What's interesting is when we grow, we called those ones Cog Grunter. So it's funny, there's just different names. Um, oh, Ken says waiting for you to visit me. Um, Ken, you're down in Cape Town, right? Cape Town. Well, who knows? I would love to do some fishing in Cape Town, and maybe that will be in the future. You never know. How about you guys? Do you guys have any questions for me? Um, be nice, guys. Yeah, get my first Kalyan. Yes, that'll be nice. Actually, talking about my grandfather, that was his nickname. Not Kalyun, but the name for it here in Durban being Black Brim. They kept that name for him because he was very, very skilled in catching that with the crab. And, it was a little bit difficult because they were sort of moving away from the normal spots of Durban at that time. So one had to sit to specifically target them. But he was known for actually catching Kalyun. So, yeah, guys, any questions for me? What's another name for silver? Hmm. I think that's Cape Stumpnose, if I'm not mistaken. Um, when are you going to do bass fishing? I actually have, Roland. You know what I will do? I will release a video, soon, since we really can't go out to fish. Well, we can, but I'm just not going out to the beach right now. I will release a video showing some fish that I've caught in the past. When I was studying, so some of you guys don't know this about me. I actually studied in the US from 2015 to 2018. And while I was there, I actually did some fishing in a local, like a dam area. It's more like a pond, and we were basically targeting bass, and we were targeting catfish. And actually, I caught a prize catch. I was actually using tiny reel, a reel that I'd never used before. It was actually weird. It basically had a button, so you had to kind of press the button and release it while you throw. And then it had a small hole where the line came out from. And tiny rod and 10-pound line. And yeah, hooked into a huge catfish there. But what I will do is I will show you guys some of those weird catches that I've had in the past before I started releasing fishing videos on my channel. And I did catch bass as well. So yeah, thanks for that comment. Anybody else? Okay, Shannon says thought as much. I used to target barbel, bass, and carp as well. Great. That's my question. Why don't you use black crab? Yeah, I definitely would want to use more crab, I guess, as a fish. Um, it is interesting time to catch them, guys. what we generally do is we try and make a trap, and we take a bucket and put it into the sand, and then put a stick across it and put some bait. So basically the crab comes to eat the bait and they fall into the bucket. And in about a couple of hours at night, you have a good solid 20 or 30 crabs. Not that you're going to use all of them. You release and only keep what you need. But yeah, definitely we'll try. We'll try that. That's a good suggestion. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. As I conclude today, as we bring this video, it has been so fun, and maybe this won't be the last. We'll do a few more, hopefully, where we can just sit and chat and just catch up. Um, but yeah, as I conclude today, there's a few things that I want to talk about, and specifically when it comes to the platforms that this book is going to be available on. But I want to conclude by reading something first, and I just want to say that the legacy that was left behind by my grandfather and also these fisher folk, these people that I was talking about that were instrumental in the start of the fishing industry here in Durban. The impact that they left. This book is a tribute to them, and it's a piece of oral history that I want to share, whereby it's going to live, and testify to the future generations of what really happened, so that we do not forget about these stories, but that they live on within our hearts, and it reminds us of where we come from, never forgetting where we come from, and my grandfather left behind a legacy that impacted his 5 sons. So he had 5 sons, and one of them you saw was my uncle, that fishes on the videos. And my grandfather also has many grandchildren, and even down to his great grandchildren. And most of us took up fishing after him. So I just that's the tribute that I want to be able to give to his life. And as for me now, as this legacy continues in my heart and in my life, I'm also working towards leaving a legacy of my own. A legacy of fishing, yes, but also, guys, a legacy of faith, a legacy of hope, and a legacy of love as well. And I think that's what also echoes through the writings as you will read this book. It also tells about the love of a grandparent. And as we think back to those that have loved us and have cared for us as well, it speaks volumes as well. Love truly never fails. And most importantly, as I think about this book launch, I do want to give glory and honor to God, specifically for being with me, and for helping me to be able to produce and to write my third book. I truly believe that as we live, we are sustained by God and by His presence in our lives. And even when we think about all of these things, the ocean, the beach, it is His creation. And we are meant to sustain, in whatever that we do, to be sustainable and to care for what God has given to us. So yeah, guys, as I conclude today, I just wanted to say thank you so much to all of you who have shown so much of support on this channel, and specifically with the comments, with the likes, with the shares. I really felt the warmth of your love, and it encourages me as a young man. I'm 29 years old, so I'm still fairly young, and I'm growing, especially when it comes to becoming a better fisherman. I don't know it all, but I have learned from the best, and I am putting that knowledge into practice. When it comes to my book today, guys, this is how you are going to be able to get a copy of it. So in this video, there is a description that you can click on that will open up and that will share 3 platforms with you. So the first platform that the book will be available on, that there will be a link there, is Takealot. So if you're here living in South Africa and you want to purchase it via Takealot, the book is selling for 199 Rand. So you can go ahead and you can order it via Takealot, and it will be delivered to you. So it'll be pretty easy, and I wanted to go this route so that it's not going to become difficult for me specifically to have to give one book to specifically everyone. But what I will do is, in the future months, I will try and look for other avenues to be able to get my book maybe into stores here, if you guys want to get it that way. But for now, a good bet is getting it off Takealot. Then for those that are tuning in, like I say, from other countries, thank you so much. The book will be available. The book is available. There's a link on there on the description for Amazon. So yeah, you can click on that link on Amazon. And actually, I just recently sent this book to someone that lives in the U.S. So it works well. You can be able to order it via Amazon, and it will be delivered to you, whether you're living in the U.S. or in Australia or up in the U.K., wherever it is. The book will be able to be delivered to you. And lastly, I think this may be catered more towards the younger generation. Well, but maybe there isn't an age limit to it. Those of you that enjoy reading eBooks, and if you basically want to get the book downloaded onto your laptop or onto your phone, there is a link in the description, which is called Payhip, and you can click specifically onto the Payhip link, and basically you can purchase the book from there, and then an email will be sent to you. Now I just want to mention something for those specifically that are ordering it off Payhip. When the link is sent to your email address, basically you can download it onto your devices. So for example, if you open your email, let's say you bought it off your phone, and then they send an email to you, you can open it off your laptop, and then you can download it straight there. It'll be easier. If you're downloading it onto your phone, when you click download, make sure you go onto the downloads folder on your phone, because it will download onto your phone, but you may not see it necessarily straight away. You've got to locate where your download folder is on your phone, and it will appear there. So it's very simple. Yeah, and you wouldn't have a problem with that. But yeah, guys, if there's any queries that you do have, please feel free to email me. My email is in the description link as well at the bottom. It's wendell.mudley@gmail.com, and I will get back to you at some point. So yeah, if you have any inquiries or anything you would like to ask me, feel free to send me an email. All right, well, I think that does it for our YouTube live session today. Before I close, is there anybody that wants to ask anything specifically about these platforms? Feel free to ask me now. Okay, what I also will do is, if you are finding difficulty for whatever reason opening up the description here, you can also go to my Facebook, and probably by this afternoon, I will post all of the links onto my Facebook wall, which is Wendell Mudley. And yeah, once you go onto my Facebook wall, you can be able to see the links that will be posted there a little bit later. Alternatively, you can also just email me and ask me specifically for what you want, and I can send that to you. But yeah, it's pretty simple, guys. I mean, you can just pull up the description on this video, and everything is there. So let's see. Any other questions? Nothing. All right. Well, thank you to everyone that has come onto this video. For those that have interacted, for those that have watched and tuned in, and to those that will view this live a little bit later, when it's not live, but it'll still be posted as a normal video on YouTube. So thank you so much. Thank you for all your support, and like I say, I'm so grateful to God for this moment of releasing my third book, and it being a fishing short story. Fishing being something that I'm so passionate about. There will be some other upcoming things onto the channel that you can stay tuned for. So yeah, there's some exciting things, and I will keep you in the loop as the weeks go by. But for now, God bless each and every one of you. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, thank you guys so much for your support. Bye for now.